All right, so still working with adding of integers. We'll begin practice in class today, and then tomorrow we're going to mix in subtracting integers. Just a few more rules to it, not anything super challenging, hopefully. So to review, whenever you see a problem, in this case we got negative 17 plus negative 9, you always ask the question first, are the signs the same? So are the signs the same for this one? Yeah, it's a negative 17 and a negative 9. When they're the same, what do? We add. So we add the numbers. 17 plus 9 will give me 26. And then what do we do for the sign? We're going to keep the sign, so that would be a negative since they were both negative. Yesterday, someone pointed out in a couple of the classes that you can always still think of it as sign of the bigger number. So if I did the sign of the bigger number is 17, 17 was negative. So if you get confused on which sign to keep, just always think sign of the bigger number. So for this one, we got 7 plus negative 16. Difference. So that means they're not the same. When they're not the same, what do? Subtract. So 16 minus 7 is going to give me 9. Sign, we've been saying it. What do? Keep the sign of the bigger number. So in this case, which one's the bigger number? The negative 16, so that makes the answer negative 9. All right, so each time, that's just the process you kind of have to go through in your head. As you get better and better at it, it'll go quicker and quicker, and you don't have to think through the steps quite as much. Someone yesterday asked me, if you're adding, why do you subtract? All right, so I'm going to do my best to kind of show and explain how that works using a number line. So normally, you would have in elementary school had problems like 5 plus 4. If we're working it on a number line, you would start at 5, and 5 plus 4 means you are moving 4 to the right, and your answer is 9. Right? Adding, you're moving to the right. You're adding a positive number, you move to the right. So if I've got two negative numbers, same idea. This first number is where I start. So I'm starting at negative 5. When I add, again, normally we were going to the right. We add a positive, we move to the right. Well, this time I'm adding a negative. Another way of thinking the negative, when we talked about integers, we said whole numbers and their opposites. So if I'm adding an opposite, I'm going to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to go 4 to the left, and that gives me negative 9. All right, so still haven't gotten to where we're subtracting really yet. We're still adding those numbers up. 4 plus 5 gave me 9. 4 plus 5 gives me 9 again. In this case, if we followed our rules, we would subtract. And here's how that works. I'm starting at that first number. I'm starting at that negative 5. That's my starting point. If I add 4, what I'm doing is I'm going to the right 4 on the number line. So when I go to the right 4, that brings me right there to negative 1. which ends up being that I subtracted, right? 5 minus 4 gives me 1. So if you move the opposite direction from where you start, you're always going to end up looking at it as a subtraction. So here, I'm starting at 5. I'm moving negative 4. Or I'm moving the opposite of 4. So I'm moving the opposite of the right. That's going to move it to the left. And that brings me to positive 1. Basically, that's the way it works, is a negative sign we can think of as the opposite. Integers are whole numbers, they're opposites, and 0. So if you think of it as an opposite, that means you're moving the opposite direction, and that's why it ends up looking like a subtraction problem. Does that make at least a little bit of sense? I think that's kind of like the best I could explain it, but that's why we end up ultimately subtracting on some of these problems, even though there's a plus sign. All right, go ahead and try those two. All right, who's got an answer for the first one? 3 is correct. Signs are different. We subtract. So 12 minus 9 is 3. We use the sign of the bigger number. Bigger number was positive 12, so it's a positive 3. Second one. Negative 14 is correct. Signs are the same. So we add, keep the sign. Everybody good on those?